All right, I'm going to call the regular select board meeting of March 18th, 2024 at 6:30. I'll call the meeting to order. And though I see it's not on the agenda, if you join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Well, thanks for coming. This is one of the biggest crowds we've had in a little while here. Just want to make a couple of comments and then we'll get right into our first agenda item here. Just want to say I appreciate and want to thank all of our residents for passing the town municipal budget a couple of weeks ago. This year was closer than usual, partly because there was a lot of focus on increasing school budgets across the state, and partly because of our large increase due to our commitment to a more enhanced yet more expensive police services in the town. In the end, our voters felt the extra cost was worth it. I also want to thank the voters for their support of myself. I'm sure Jack feels the same. I will continue to keep our residents, those that live in the lake, live up on the hills or in between, in mind as I cast my votes over the next 3 years. Finally, I want to thank Jeff, Brendan, Jonathan, and Jack for allowing me to represent them and our town as the select board's chairman over the past year. I tried to moderate discussions among board members, allow as much public comment as possible, and move our town forward in terms of our law enforcement partnership with the city and with our important work in regards to our stormwater utility. Thank you, gentlemen. And now we'll move to our first agenda item that I have on here. So our first order of business this evening will be to select a new chair for the next year. While I have enjoyed the past year's chair and would consider serving in that role again in the future, I will not be seeking that seat again tonight and will step aside for another member. So at this point, I would open nominations for the select board chair for the next year.
I'll make a motion that we nominate Jonathan Giroux to be the chair for this year.
All right, any seconds? Second. Any other nominations? All right, well, all in favor to, guess that's maybe just one vote for Jonathan? All in favor for Jonathan?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, and congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
That brief recess.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. So now we're on to, we got to nominate a vice chair. Does anybody want to make a motion to nominate a vice chair? Okay, we got a motion. Do we got a second?
Second.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jeff Sanders is the vice
Thank
chair. You're welcome.
Nope. Good.
So next up is in your packet was the adoption rules of, we gotta adopt the rules of
Mhm.
procedure. That's all we need is a motion to approve those rules of procedure. So moved. Second. Anybody?
Second.
Anybody, any discussion? I had a little bit of discussion. We talked about, I think it was this board, we talked about changing the length of public comment. I think it's 3 minutes, right? Yeah. Did we want to look into changing that now or bring that up at a later date?
I think you ought to do it on a case by case basis.
Increasing it, Johnson?
Small group, let them talk.
Well, we typically do.
Big
but
crowd.
I just-
Limit it.
Time to bring it up, I guess. We don't have to beat it too long, but. Okay, so we're not gonna change the minutes as of right now. Okay, perfect. We got a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So next up is the warrants, and Brian, I believe you have the general fund warrants.
Do have the general fund warrant. All right, so I've got the general fund warrant, fairly straightforward, like our usual ones. The total amount here, it's dated, at least the one I have here is as of March 15th, 2024. The amount is $142,842.28. By far, again, the two largest items on there are health insurance and our payment to the Franklin County Sheriff's. Well, let me back check here. I know it's law enforcement. I think it's Franklin County. Double check that. Yeah, good start for me here.
On the track.
I, there we go. It's, yeah, sorry, just wanted to double check that. Franklin County Sheriff's Department. That's about a little over, almost 58,000, and the health insurance, almost 29,000, so that makes up a good portion of it. I would make a motion that we accept the general fund warrant as presented.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I,
We're gonna be to public comment in a second, okay? The next up, we have industrial park warrant,
Yep, I've got
another
the,
miscellaneous.
yep, I've got an industrial park warrant that's pretty normal. It's for the amount of $1,311.38 dated March 18th, 2025. Nothing jumps out at all. All typical. I'll make a motion, we approve that one.
second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Right. And then I have a stormwater utility warrant. We've got Aldrich and Elliott making up almost all of it. Probably 80%. And that's all related to Gricebrook and Clyde Allen Drive. And then we have another warrant from another invoice in this warrant from Fitzgerald Environmental Associates. And that is related to the McQuam Shore scoping study. We're gonna charge that back to a grant that we got to do that. So I'll make a motion, we approve.
Okay,
Second.
okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I might not have said it, but $9,406.96. Sorry.
Okay, Jeff, you have the payroll.
Yeah, I have two payroll warrants. The first one is dated March 8th of 2024. That's covering the pay period from February 26th through March 3rd. And that's in the amount of $24,689.37. And I have a second warrant dated March 15th, covering from March 4th to March 10th. And that one is in the amount of $24,830.62. And I would make a motion that we approve these warrants as one.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up in your packet, you have the minutes from the informational meeting of March 4th. Anybody want to make a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Anybody want to second that motion?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Probably not. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Public comment. Anybody want to make a public comment? Come on up. Come on, Peter.
Just a quick question on the,
Can you come up and just state your name, please?
yes.
Sure.
He was elected.
Okay.
And so I've given him data for the LCT for him to see people. Peter Hatfield, he's a
Peter,
JP as well.
yep.
Right. Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
I just had a quick question concerning, the warrant as far as, Franklin County Sheriff's Department.
Yep.
That is up until July, when that contract, goes over to St. Albans PD, correct?
Correct.
That's all I wanted to know.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Come on up. Can you come on up and state your name for the record? Just so for the minutes. Thank you.
Jonna Grimm. And could you get clip-on mics? Because we can't hear you. I mean, you could trade these in. But really, seriously, it's very hard to hear you.
Okay, sorry.
And
I'll
I've
speak
got
up.
all the hardware I could possibly get.
You have anybody on Zoom? No, it doesn't appear so. I was kind of mumbling. So, anybody else want to make a public comment? Okay, hearing none, we're gonna move forward. Would somebody like to make a motion to recess the select board meeting and convene as the liquor control board?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have, I believe, three, right? Actually, they're right here. Was Pizza Hut for a first class renewal, Kenny Drugs for a second class, and Walmart for a second class. And I'm guessing, Anna, there was no issues? Okay. Perfect. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the Pizza Hut liquor and tobacco license for first class, Kenny Drugs for second class, and Walmart for second class?
So moved.
Yep, second.
Okay, all in
No
favor?
site visit.
No site visit today. Maybe next time. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna close the liquor control board meeting and open up the local cannabis control board meeting. Anybody want to make a motion to do so? Okay, anybody want to second that?
Yep, second.
Okay, so we have,
I'll vote.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A little rusty, I'll get there. Okay, so Mary,
Right, hard not to say anything.
that's all right.
Been automatic. so.
Just throw stuff at me. I'll get it. Hold on, sorry. I'm trying to scroll through here. Is that?
It's on page, looks like page 20. If you got PDF.
You want to use some paper?
I know, it would be nice.
Works really
So,
good.
okay, so license number, it says license number 2, must be they have 2 licenses. Oh, so this is the number 2 license. Okay, okay, so that's how that's designated. Okay, perfect. So we have Michelle Waters as the property owner and Michael Gregoire and Calvin Gregoire as the licensing information. And I take it this is Michelle Waters?
Michelle Waters.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So we just gotta approve this, right?
Yep. It's a renewal.
So anybody want to make a motion to approve this local cannabis license?
May I say something, Jonathan?
You sure can.
I just want to mention, just wanted to say thanks. I know I'd heard just a few people asking questions and about one of the fluorescent signs that was in one of the windows. I think it was Sean and maybe Megan or someone went out and asked you guys about that and you just agreed to flip it around. Again, must have heard at least 6 or 7 people in the community asking me about that. So I just wanted to say thank you for turning that around and that's all I wanted to say.
Perfect.
It was on the VT Grow Shop side, just to,
Mhm.
but it had been there for 5 years. And it's really representing the CBD side. So is it not okay to have it in general?
Well, that might be up for, well, maybe we should.
Well, I think that, yeah, some people had some issues with it, and I think us being as the local cannabis control board, we do have a say on some signage, I believe. Al, I know you've dug into it a little bit, but
Specifically, I think the concern was because of people driving by on the road, associating that sign with marijuana. And it was just an advertisement for marijuana, particularly for young people. Why people raised the questions as to whether or not we have the right to sign. I'm not sure. I know it gets into the issue of freedom of speech and things like that. So I don't know the legal answer to the question. I just know that the public would be more comfortable with it not being visible to younger people.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if it's something that we could maybe discuss at a further time, but
You said it been here for 5 years?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, our goal wasn't to like represent cannabis in a bad light. You know, we help a lot of people with CBD, so this is on the VT Grow Shop side, and we do wholesale to our other company, Green Mountain Hemp Company, which is, you know, help people that are in pain or arthritis, cancer, things like that. So we were, you know, it's sometimes people look at it as medicine, but obviously depending on the education, I mean, I can see that it can be dual, but it's also in our logo for our Green Mountain Hemp Company as well. It's in our sunshine. So. you
right,
know.
I think the biggest issue was just like the neon sign, like it wasn't lit up, I think it would.
Oh,
felt
it's the
bad.
brightness.
But
Okay.
it's the, yeah, because you get like.
It's very eye-catching.
Yeah, it catches your eye when you drive by, right? So
Mhm.
that, I think that was. That
Just
was,
kind of.
well, I know, but,
outside. Right.
well, I know, but it's like,
Yeah.
it really sticks out, on a building that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dull, and then you see this.
I was
Mhm.
gonna say, if it's been there 5 years, I wouldn't have recalled that. I guess it was, the first few times it was pointed out to me, it was my 12-year-old in the back.
Oh,
you know?
really?
Yeah, and that's what's like, wow, 12-year-old sees that pretty clearly.
But at the same time, we have the junction next door, so,
I got you.
it's helping the other business too, to kind of keep it going, because we did close the physical store, so.
Yep.
We were just complying because we want to obviously honor what the public really wants, but, obviously keep the sign, and hopefully it could help the other business as well, but, I don't know if that's something we would discuss, or if that's, on the table in the future, or we have to just close it down completely.
Go ahead, Al.
Tomorrow I'll come in and talk to the cannabis board to find out more about the question.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair. Yeah.
Make a motion, we approve the license renewal.
perfect. Anybody want a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the license is approved. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Give back
Make
here.
I'm gonna make another, everything seems to be in order, right? No issues?
Thanks for
Megan,
Drew
Anna,
Flowers.
this next one. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve the license application for Druid Flowers LLC for an indoor cultivator license to be cited at 431 Franklin Park West in suites 102, 103, and 104.
Anybody want to second that? Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we adjourn the the Cannabis Control Board and reconvene as a select board.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're back to the select board. Franklin County Industrial Development. You're up, Tim. Good, yourself? Congratulations on your election.
I was here a couple months ago. I think there was a couple other questions that followed after I left, I believe. I went back and looked at the tape. I guess someone was questioning the realtor we used in the industrial park. I'm not sure why, but I can share that we use Pomelo. They are out of Chittenden County. But there's really no commercial realtor specifically that focused on commercial realty. And we also felt that two things, they were the ones that asked. We've had the park for many years and no one ever asked to do it. Brad Worthen stepped up, asked if he could represent us. And we also knew that the 7 years ago, GBIC, our counterpart, had done a study about industrial land, and we knew that what they found out was they had an inventory that was going to last 7 years. We're now at 7 years, and we think we need representation in the Burlington area to draw new interest in the industrial park. And so we've had, I think we've been with Brad Worthen and Pomelo for 1 year at least, maybe 2, and it's proven to be a good relationship. He's brought a number of opportunities to the table, but with me today, I brought, so on the Franklin County Industrial Board is made up of 18 folks. And just due to people moving, coming and going, we actually have 5 of the 18 are from the town. Mark LaRoe, Kevin Manahan, Andy Crossman are here tonight, which many of you know. The other 2 are Maureen Brown, who's the manager of the Hampton Inn, and Leon Berthiel, who many of you know as well. So beyond that, I don't know what other questions there might have been. So I guess we're here to answer any further questions that there might be.
Oh, I was under the impression that There was like $4 million in investment from FCIDC in the park, and I thought you were coming down to explain that a little bit more.
Well, I can do that as well.
I think, just gonna say, when Jack and I met, with you, it sounded like, since we met with you, since the last time you came down, and it sounded like there was some good developments happening since then, since the last time you were here with us.
Paid off, something like that, maybe a spec building going up, I don't know.
You guys know more than I do. No, I'm just kidding. We own, we owned Peerless Clothing, the building. We did sell Peerless Clothing. It generated to FCIDC $1.1 million. But at the same time, we have, I think we had 2.9 million in debt on the industrial park. So we bought land many years ago for $675,000. We put in terms of infrastructure, we put in another $2.7 million. And that's roads, water, sewer, permitting, engineering took up a good chunk. And so we had we have 4 loans on the property. We had 4 loans on the property, and all of them were with Vita. One was 1.7 million, one was 2.5, one was 670,000, and then 190,000. And what we chose to do with the money that we received from Peerless was to pay off 2 of the loans, totaling 240,000 and 150 or 60,000, because the interest rates on those were 7 or 8%. So we felt that we could pay those off, and it'd be better than investing the money because of the high interest rate. When you get a loan from Vita loans, as great as they are to work with, are variable. So for years, we benefited from 2 and 3% interest, but then whenever the interest rate had started to kick up, those rates rise for us. So we were paying 7.5% and 8%. So we paid those off. We still owe 2.5 million, and we still have another 1 million to invest in the park to finalize the infrastructure. So the infrastructure is not complete. So we still have roughly a million to reinvest in the park. And that includes, we would love to repave the road. We'd love to have a conversation with the town about potentially taking over that road once it is paved again. We have to put a sidewalk in, due to Act 250. There's another $200,000. But currently, to your point, Brian, currently we have Purpose Energy is constructing a facility to take all the waste from Ben and Jerry's and do a methane digester, if you will, to produce electric, and then put it back into the grid. That should be a big help too. Not only Ben and Jerry's, but they could take other waste as well, whether it's the co-op, Franklin Foods, Barry Callebaut. It could take all that waste as well. So they hope to have that done, I think, don't hold me to this, but I think it's September of this year. And then we've shown the property other times. We are working with an individual who might come to the table and pitch some proposals relative to spec buildings, but we don't have that in front of us at this stage. So, I was talking to Jack one day, on Jack's first round on the board, I guess it was, who knows how long ago, but yeah. But we had an agreement, FCIDC had an agreement with the town that we would, any profits that were made from the sale of from any the building was, or any of the property, would be split 65% to FCIDC and 35% to the town. And part of that agreement was the town would also participate in writing grants or going after grants that could help us out. To date, we've been able to submit one grant relative to sidewalks. We didn't get it, but that had to go through the town. That's when Carrie was here, and Carrie, each municipality could only apply for one grant, and she chose submitting a grant application for the industrial park over another one. But that's the only one that we've done. But I can tell you, I mean, this has been going on 15 years. We think that there's going to be more and more activity. I mean, I can tell you that more and more developers from Chittenden County are coming to us to look at what we have. And this proposal that we're hoping to have soon is one of those. We had another one, the individual ended up getting sick, so he pulled out of that. I brought a file. I mean, we've got I probably have 6 or 7 purchase and sale options here that have been signed, but for whatever reason did not materialize. One was when the immigration building shut down in Coop Field, and there was a push to build a new building in the region. We had an individual out of Washington, D.C. come to us and sign a purchase and sale agreement that he pitched building a building for immigration, and then immigration chose to go work from home, so they didn't build a building in the region. That's just one of those. We've had others, so there's been a lot of discussions, a lot of interaction with potential projects, but for one reason or another, they just don't materialize. We looked at Peerless building another building, 200,000 square feet, and they had a full proposal from REARC, and they would have taken 22 acres, and Peerless pulled out because interest rates were still rising.
Is that the building you built in Milton?
No, they did not build that. So a developer built it.
They're leasing it,
They're leasing it.
but that's the same square footage, like.
No, we were looking at 200,000 square feet. That building's 90,000 square feet. But the lease rate they got on that is $10 a square foot. So, and with the building we were looking at, I think it came in at about $14 a square foot. So what happens is, and Andy Crossman's here, we went to Plattsburgh and we visited my counterpart in Plattsburgh. What's happened over the years in Plattsburgh, and this is the same with the developer that Peerless is running from, is over the years they've built multiple buildings, and many of them are paid off, so they can absorb a loss on a new building like the one in Milton, because previously they were renting their buildings for $5-6 a square foot. And when you build new, you're at 10, 12, not even 10, probably 12 is probably the average. So Plattsburgh's able to pull, you're robbing from Peter to pay Paul to keep your square foot rate down. And that's what this gentleman's doing in Milton. So we don't have that luxury. Even with the sale of Peerless, we don't have that kind of money. $1 million doesn't go very far if you're going to build a building. The estimate on the building for 200,000 square feet in the industrial park came in at, don't hold me to it, but I think it was $32 million to build 200,000 square feet. And that didn't even count the land. So.
You said 32 million?
I think it was 32. I have to double check that, but yeah, it was, the expansions we were doing on Peerless previously were 12 or 17,000 square feet, or 12 to $17 million. But keep in mind that includes all their racking. It's not just the building for Peerless, it's the racking as well. So, so we do have you know, we're evaluating where we want to go next. Um, so I don't know. Right.
I mean, it seems like maybe we ought to be working a little closer together on the select board and you guys, you know, talking about grants, doesn't look like much happened there. Of course, I laughed,
Right.
but I mean, you know,
We had two lined up until you left, Jack, and then, yeah.
you know, what can we do to move things along?
I have like, I want to ask the same question, but in a different way. So we hired Sean Atkins, he's not here today, deal with a personal matter. We hired him because of his economic development background, working in a rural area, working grants. And when he first landed in town, we thought, what better way to plug him into FCIDC than asking to join the board? And like you said, there's 18 spots. And I mean, we kind of told him to put on the list, but then I hear that, like, I hear both sides of it, like, you know, we asked for a grant, he went with another opportunity in the area, carried, you know, so then we hear that and we want to plug Sean directly into your board. How better to make him available to you than stick him in your tool belt, and then we couldn't get him on. And I think that's been frustrating for us.
Oh, as I said, Brendan, a board of 18, the town has 5 representatives
But
on
they're
that
not my
board.
town manager, you know? We have
Well,
one.
no, there, but we don't dictate positions. We don't set aside a position for your town manager, nor do we for Swanton or
Maybe
Highgate.
we should. Just, and then not to jump, but I'm hearing a lot from people that are looking in different areas of the county that workforce housing is the biggest issue that they fear when relocating or locating a new spot in Franklin County. And you said, when we last spoke, I think in December, that FCIDC had kind of shifted its model a little bit to focus also on housing and highlighted a project in Enosburg and Bakersfield, if I remember.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we shifted to housing, we shifted to quality of life issues like housing. So we did do rehab a building in Enosburg, which had 8 apartments in it. So yes, we were involved with some housing.
Like, what?
We are involved with Bakersfield to rehab the Brigham Academy. But that's an opportunity that we've been focused on for a number of years.
Do you think someone, whether it's your organization or maybe some towns should get together or regional planning, do you think there's a county-wide need to look at everyone's individual zoning bylaws to see what is preventing housing stock from growing in our area? Like, I just see like Highgate had lost people from 2010 to 2020 in the census, and that 2020 was an odd census year, so they might have been level, but they didn't grow. I'm looking at, you know, the only one that's really showing huge growth, it's Fairfax, the town, a little bit in Georgia. Everything else is fairly stagnant. And then we've got like our urban hub being the city where a lot of workforce housing traditionally is. I mean, if you're in a city, that's the highest density housing you can get. You know, since 1960, you know, the town's gone from 2,300 people to just below 7,000, probably just above it today. And then the city went from 8,800 to 6,800 in that same time. It went down 28%. Like, so what?
They moved to the town.
Well, I get that to some respect. I mean, I know, you know, I can name 5 of my friends in the last like 6 months that have relocated from the city to the town just because a good real estate opportunity came up or whatever the case is. But I don't know if it's that the housing stock is less. Like, I've tried to research that and I saw that, you know, the city's added some units, but also units have come off the market from people. Like, it was, I don't think it's unfair to say that it was a planning objective for the city for a long time, and it may still be, to cut up prior single family homes back into single family homes from apartment buildings. Like, if we're competing against Plattsburgh and, you know, Highgate's runway is going to be done at some point, and they're going to start, the state's going to need to recoup that investment, and Highgate will need to recoup that investment into water and sewer. They're going to start competing with the park. We still have, you know, Rutland, we've got the Southern Vermont, Should we be looking at like every town coming to the table saying we need to build housing? And I know the state, like through Act 250, with 2-year Act 250 reforms and various housing bills that have been proposed, including, the home bill that passed, S100. They're taking like a temporary approach in certain regulatory respects to allow, more units to be created in the short term and then having a sunset on whatever provisions were put in place to allow that. Do you think we need to do that here?
Which would bring towns together? Is that what you're?
We'll bring towns together, evaluate our zoning bylaws. I think we're at an inflection point where if we get together in the next 12 to 24 months and we say, Swanton, you have this infrastructure in this area, Highgate has land here, we saw them do that with the airport, but we think you could build housing here, here's how much it could cost. We could build X number of units and build support for that among a countywide coalition and do the same thing like between the city and town. We've got a bunch of land right by the interstate that could support some pretty large residential housing projects.
Well, I think you're, Brendan, I think you're assuming that all towns want housing, and I don't think that's the case. Fairfield's going through it right now. They have a proposed, whatever it is, 10-house subdivision that's getting pushed back. I don't think every town wants housing. I mean, you need the infrastructure, right? You need the water, sewer, for sure.
I think Fairfield, it's a different conversation than like Highgate, Enosburg
No.
Falls. We've got Enosburg Falls, my understanding is they're not granting any new sewer allocations at the moment because of a capacity issue. You see the same thing in Hallberg, and those are places where workforce housing, they are bedroom communities to St. Albans. It's in our best interest that they are able to build. So I don't know, when I view FCIDC, I view it as, what do we need to do to create the conditions for successful economic development through the whole county? Because, let's face it, if a bunch of people are driving from Enosburg to St. Albans to work in our industrial park, would they like to see those businesses located in Enosburg? Sure, but at least they're not driving to Burlington. It's in all of our best interest to accompany one another.
Well, we do have, I go around every select board. I think I shared that with you. And I talk to all the select boards at least once a year. Many of them understand the value of FCIDC by bringing business into the areas that can accommodate business, like St. Albans, like Swanton. I mean, we built a building in Swanton as well. And some of them don't want any, but they understand that they're a bedroom community for St. Albans and Swanton. Georgia's a prime example. But I don't think, that they're not quick to jump on the housing bandwagon.
We're obviously not building enough housing.
Well,
Well, that's why we formed a district so that, if we overfill SATEC, we can look at, how we allocate kids between city school and town school, and that we should be doing pre-K through 4 at what is currently city school, and if we should be doing 5 through 8 at what's currently town. Like, there are a lot of ways that we could conquer that one, but the biggest issue is if we can't sell land in the industrial park, and we're not seeing businesses locate here, and they're citing housing repeatedly as an issue, like, at what point do we not all get together, not just, the city and town could work together to extend water and sewer to a certain field. We could zone it a particular way that encouraged high density residential housing. I mean, if you saw those types of partnerships happen, then you're gonna have people fighting hand over fist to come in and develop those properties into the housing that we need. And if we don't get the housing, we won't get the businesses. We don't get the businesses, the tax rates keep going up. I mean,
I think we gotta, any one of these businesses that locates in that industrial park, it benefits us a lot.
well,
in
that's
the
it.
tax base. So I think we gotta work with these guys if they need help with grants or whatever, and help with their road or something. We gotta get on board with that.
Well, that goes without saying, but I'm still back on the housing
I'm
issue.
concerned with the St. Albans town. Housing is out of control. I mean, the cost of it. I don't think you can say the word affordable housing. But we've got to focus on getting some businesses in there.
Well, put it this way, I had someone I'm close to list an apartment for $2,000 a month that 5 years ago would have gone for maybe 12 to 13. I got 15 solid applicants within a week. I already showed it, have it rented. It's not available for 2 months. You go on all the major spots you can look and say at rental openings, Zillow, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and a couple others. You've got no open housing stock, which means that every time one does come to the table, they bump the rent that extra $50 because they know they're gonna get it, and then that sets the new floor on the market, and we've been going through that in the last 3 or 4 years. And now people that have lived here forever are getting rental cost increases passed to them by their landlords because, well, if you moved out, I'd rent it to somebody from out of town for $2,000, you're only paying me 12, so you're going to 15. You know, it impacts people in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm only bringing it up now because Tim deals with industrial development all over the county, and from what I hear, we're not best positioned to be able to compete for these opportunities because of our lack of housing. And it goes way beyond that. Like I just said, it hurts people that live here in ways that we can't even tell or account for. But my whole part is Tim is a gateway to the whole county. He's got relationships with every select board, town manager, town administrator, village, you name it. Like, if he could be a matchmaker for certain communities to work under his umbrella to find that field that has sewer and water and natural gas nearby that could turn into housing and help bring them together. Well, I think you're definitely positioned to do it within the city and town. You know, I don't know if it's the land by exit 19 where we've already seen some bigger housing projects go up by the football field. You know, if we want to continue that style development, you know, you've been through several now, large scale residential, high density housing projects just in your role as mayor. You've seen developer agreements and grant applications, and you know what it takes to get one of those projects built. Like, and then you cap it off with the fact that the TIF's done and this is the last hurrah. Like, somebody's gonna have to fill the void of creating those new housing units now that that financing pool is not available to the city. Like, is that where we need to shift our focus?
Let me go back to a couple of questions. You talked about the shift in population. I think a large part of that shift from whatever you said, 8,600 down to 7,000, I think part of it is smaller families, right? I mean, I was in a house of 9 individuals, 2 parents and 7 kids that now has 2 people in it. Kevin Manahan, Kevin, you had 10 and, right?
Most of the time.
Yeah. So 10, which now houses a couple from Colchester. So right there, you know, there's 20 or 17 right there that I think part of that decline is smaller families for sure. Is still occupying a house, but it's definitely not the same number of kids. That's number one. I think in terms of, I don't know that housing is the end all to economic development. I think finding people that want to work is the issue right now. They're not, there's people that don't want to work. It's not that they can't find a house to move to the area. We have people that just don't want to show up and work. That's a big piece of it right now.
You've got the folks in the industrial park offering anywhere from like $18 to $30 an hour for swing shift production jobs.
Sure.
You can't afford $2,000 a month for just your rent. And then utilities, car payments, food, children, as a single person. I mean, they might have been able to swing like a $1,200-$1,300 a month rent 5 years ago on the same salary, but the fact that we have no housing available and nothing on the market to rent means that every time someone comes forward, they're doing what people were doing during the COVID.
No, I agree with you. I agree with that. That is part of the issue, but also finding help is part of the issue.
I saw the housing bill go through economic development committee in the Senate. Then it got bounced to natural resources and died. Then the Act 250 bill from the House on the make crossover was supposed to be the vehicle for a lot of that language to get involved with, to get passed in the governor's desk. Now that doesn't look like it's possible. So I don't trust the legislature to come in and tell us all that we need to build more housing. We're gonna have to do it ourselves.
Well, I'm putting a mayor hat on here for a quick moment is, I mean, the legislation that passed last year was any house can be turned into a duplex that has water and sewer. Speaking as a homeowner, I know within where I live on Rubley Street in St. Albans, I can name you 5 houses within 100 yards that have had, and I'm not talking in 1 year, I'm talking over a decade, have had multiple issues, being a drug house, being issues. I mean, from a mayor's perspective, we do not support every house wanting to be a duplex.
I'm gonna push back on that because that sounds like a we need to keep those people out of here argument.
Well, it is.
It
It
doesn't.
is.
Okay, well, you're on record with that and you can.
I'm fine with that.
you can-
We don't want drug dealers in our town. No, we don't.
No. Not everybody that lives in St. Albans needs an affordable place that lives a drug dealer. I've got
I-
people that I went to school with that can't afford to come home because of the cost of rent. And I'll cede the floor. I'm just gonna say that I thought tonight was gonna be a way for us to come together and figure out how we could fill the park. And
Where-
discuss actual issues that we're facing. Housing's one of them. And I see that the city's got, they have had for the last couple of decades, they've had a pretty exclusionary mindset. And to hear it in person in 2024 is a little upsetting.
Do you have, how many duplex are within 100 yards of your house?
I've got an
Brandon.
accessory dwelling that I rent right next to my garage to a federal agent that was gonna live in a co-op 4-bedroom apartment with 4 different people in Burlington and commute to the Passport Building every day. because we
That's
couldn't find
fine.
A single listing in
Brendan,
St.
Brendan,
Albans.
just wrap it up, please. I'm
I
sorry.
just,
but
I
Just
I
real
find it
quick.
really upsetting, and I
Just
don't
real quick.
necessarily think we're doing everything we can to fill the park. I don't think that it's fair to come to us and say,
But-
you don't work with us well, you're never there to help us apply for grants, we want you to take a road over, but when we come and say,
I don't think.
we hired a manager to help with economic development, we'd like to get him embedded in your board, and you say, well, we can't do that.
Well, we can't,
Why
if
not?
we can't.
You've got 18 people.
Yeah, well, we're not going to kick people off to make space for your town manager. We have a board, and then Swanton comes to us and says, kick someone off your board, so make room for our town manager.
I think Bill Sheets should be involved as a village
And,
manager.
and we have discussions with Bill Sheets.
Yeah.
Brendan, you have my phone number. You can call me up and have these conversations. You don't have to grandstand. Okay? Call me up, come to our board meeting. You can come to our board meeting just as easy as I can come to yours, right?
Okay.
Okay?
Anybody have any other questions?
Any other?
We covered it. Well, I don't have any questions, but I am concerned about economic development, and I think that the housing thing is a big issue. People not wanting to work is a big issue, and I have one comment about that. I think that the tide, although it may look pretty grim now, I think I'm involved with a program at MVU. I know I don't live there, but I got asked to be on this thing where they're trying to get young people into vocations. I mean, it's happening. And the biggest issue is getting people to put these things down long enough to see the real world. So we do have some hurdles to get over, but like, when I walked through the MVU facility, I was amazed at how the potential that was there if you could just get a high school kid to have the want to do it. And so I think in the future, I don't know how long that future is. I am optimistic that things are gonna turn around. I don't think they can continue the way they are.
I agree.
The housing is a big issue. The other thing that I think the town is doing in the city is we're gonna bolster our police. People wanna come to a safe place. And I think we're making a right move by joining our police forces and seeing how that goes. But if we can curb crime and possibly get a DA to prosecute people so they don't turn them loose, we do have a chance to make it a better place for people to want to come to. And I think the housing is, and maybe I'm crazy, but most of that'll be handled in the private sector with development. And if people stop conserving their land until there's not any land left to build on, The state of Vermont wants to preserve 50% of the land in the state right off, like 30% by 2030. That is not good for housing. So, I mean, people need to make choices. Do they want to have green mountains with green mountains with no houses? Then that's the direction you're going. If you want to have a place for people to live, they're gonna have to back off on some of that stuff.
All right.
But, so I guess that's my comment on that.
Can I just share, some of you may not know, so what we started doing, and Andy Crossman here has led the charge on this, because we did a Maker Day last November where we enlisted, tried to recruit high school juniors and seniors to educate them about what the opportunities are. Not so much on the trade issue, Jeff's, but more on the manufacturing side. So we did an evening at MVU, and then we broke off and did tours at all, not at, I think we had 7 manufacturers plus the hospital. And a month ago, we took 13 kids through Milan on a tour. This Thursday, Andy's taking a group to Liquid Measurements down in Georgia. So every month, we're hoping to do tours with high school kids that may not be going on to college, may not know what they want to do. So we're doing these tours once a month and just trying to educate them about what the opportunities are. I think a lot of them don't realize what's available to them.
That's right. You just
So-
don't know.
Yep. So and it's not just BFA. We reach out to MVU, we reach out to Richford and Enosburg and Fairfax as well. So we get kids sign up, they do a tour, and probably, 2 or 3 out of 10 might get interested, but that's more than we had, by not
Right.
doing the tours. So,
It's great to do that. I mean, I'm baffled why the school don't.
well, we work close like Richard Barwin. I don't know if you work with Richard,
Yep,
so
that's the fellow.
yeah, so we work closely with their counselors and people in charge of the co-op and that type of stuff. So,
It's too bad. You know, the big push has always been the college thing, and get out of college, no $200,000. Come home and live with mom and dad, I mean, that ain't working out.
Is that the voice of experience?
Somewhat.
but many people don't even make the 4 years, right? They're done after a semester or a year, so we're working closely with the high schools to try to get the word out.
So that's Tim. So say, well, just go with 3 things it sounds like, right? Housing, cost of building these buildings per square foot, I heard, and then just work motivation. Which would you say is the one, obviously we need to work on all 3, right? Adding housing, trying to lower the cost or with grants, or at least make it competitive. I mean, it sounds like if Plattsburgh's half of what we can do it for, that's tough. And then just work motivation, which would you say is the one we need to work on the most?
I wouldn't say the most, Brian, but maybe the easiest is probably that educating kids about what the opportunities are, and you also still have 10,000 people getting on the interstate every day going south. And if could be some program where we could, educate them about what the opportunities are here as well. Save them the travel time, save them the wear and tear on vehicles. Wages are similar. I hear what Global Foundries was offering on an ad. That's being offered here between Ben and Jerry's and Barry Callebaut and others.
Yeah.
So I think that's the easiest one per se. Housing's much more difficult. And we've reached out, we've been creative in the industrial park. We've told individuals or developers that we'll give you the land in the short term so they can build. When they get a tenant, then they buy the land at that time. We've had conversations like that. So we're trying to be more creative when we're having those discussions with developers. Housing, to Brendan's point, Act 250 has been an ongoing conversation. Zoning's an issue depending on the towns. So housing, I think, is probably the more difficult one.
I've got a 24-unit project in St. Albans Town I'm working on permitting. And I've had a meeting with the Act 250 district coordinator, because I thought we should be under, but turns out that we only have a growth center in our development bylaws, and we don't have a state recognized growth center, and that's what's required to get out of Act 250. That's a different discussion, but, so we were required to get an Act 250 permit, so we sat down with the district coordinator immediately. And he said, our commission tries to approve everything. You get a 98% chance of approval. We went through the nuts and bolts of the policy, like, there's no way that you're gonna get a denial. Like, it's just Act 250 is a roadblock. They will basically approve whatever the town approves after they hear some comments from regional planning in the school. That's my understanding of it, Jack. Is that about right?
Well, once you get through Act 250, you've got a long way to go after us.
Well, we agreed with Josh that we'd go to the town first and then Act 250.
Well, that's generally the way it works, but then you gotta go through the water, A&R.
Well, that's just timing.
But it takes time.
That's all it is timing, but like, I feel like Act 250 gets an unfair rap for
It does.
stopping housing, because it's not stopping me. What would stop me is if the town had a bylaw that said, you can't put that there because, we've gone and modernized our bylaws and made housing a priority. And because of that, this project's possible. And Act 250 is gonna rubber stamp it the second we walk through the door, is my understanding. Just as soon as we have a hearing.
10 or 12 years, and I don't think we've ever turned anything down.
Right. I think the focus should shift from Act 250 to municipal violence. That's my only point.
So Brendan, when you're done, what will those, that you're selling homes?
No, we're gonna do rental properties.
Yep.
We're gonna keep it market rate, and we're not gonna take any grant funding if we can help it, because it severely restricts your ability to provide housing for working class people. And that's what we need right now.
So just to build off that quickly, and then I won't take any more of your time. So I was talking to a developer who has a plot of land. He was looking at putting 10 units, 10 single-family homes on it. By the time he got through engineering and infrastructure, he was at $600,000. So before he even put a shovel in the ground to build the house, he was at 60,000 for each home. That's a tough nut to crack from the get-go. So he hasn't done anything. He just. So.
I mean, the Act 250 permit fee for this project for 24 units is gonna be about 22,000. And that application, if you read enough on their database to get familiar with them, you can fill it out yourself. There's some supporting documents you need professionally prepared, but I think people run into the biggest roadblock when they hire maybe a not experienced engineer, even an experienced engineering firm, they leave it up to the professionals to do. And sometimes the cadence of what permit should be applied for first doesn't get followed. It should, and it results with a ton of revisions, and before you know it, you spend an extra $100,000 on professional services that you didn't.
We do scoping meetings before we get into all that.
Yeah.
Bring them to the table, ask them what the hurdles are, and then go from there.
Any more questions for Tim?
I think you covered it.
Perfect. Thank you. Mayor.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Have a
Have
good
a good
night.
night. Thanks, Tim. Well, looks like next up is Director of Community Development with a little bit of highlights on the In the Dark at St. Albans Bay Park.
Yeah, just a quick update on the eclipse that's happening on April 8th, as you all probably hopefully already know. I just wanted to give a quick update on the event, but then talk about the actual event as well. So we will be having an event from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We'll have music, food, and a couple vendors ourselves there as well, selling, giving away our sunglasses, the eclipse glasses that we got from the state and then from our.
They don't work good when you're driving down the road and.
It's not a great idea to wear them when you're driving. Yeah. But if you look at a light, sometimes you can see it. That's about all the advice I could give. Cohen Park is, as you know, the park up farther north on McQuam. We decided a few months ago to leave those parking spaces as reserved only, so you can only park there if you've reserved a spot. We have about 20 of them reserved so far, but almost every single one of those people have said, I'm only coming if it's clear. I have multiple other spots that I'm looking at, so that kind of brings up the possibility that we might not get the people that are being projected for the state. The state has said they're expecting anywhere from 150 to 200,000 additional visitors to the state on that day, with St. Albans area being around 30,000 people. If we have a cloudy day, which is 73% possible at this point, it will be a lot less, but we will still get people. We will still have the traffic concerns and the safety concerns that will be imminent if we have a clear day. We have been working with Matt Mulheron, the fire chief, on creating zones throughout the town so that we have trucks stationed in 5 different zones throughout the town and city to ensure that access to safety is readily available. We are hoping that the sheriff's office will put their mobile command unit down at the park so that we can help with radio traffic on that day, because it's a little wishy-washy down here at times. We're hoping that Amcare will also put a ambulance down there at the mobile command, which will be at the small parking lot next to the baseball field. So that will be closed off for visitor parking as well. We do have about 5 tour buses that are planning on coming. Additionally, a couple schools bringing multiple 15-passenger vans. We're hoping to park those at the former DPW site so that they're not taking up space in our lawn parking at the park, to hopefully minimize some of the damage that could potentially be done during mud season at the on April 8th. We have, I think that's about it. We are closing 2 roads to local traffic only. Hathaway Point, because Kilcare Park will not be open. We're not certain if they're closing their gate or not. So we will put a barricade up with 1 lane in and out with signage that says for local traffic only to minimize the amount of visitors that are going to travel down that road. Additionally, Sampson Road will be closed to local traffic only as well, because of where the actual center line is, goes kind of across that private road portion of Sampson Road. And we're concerned for private landowners down in that area for getting that kind of traffic and then turning around in the mud, and that could be really, really bad. So we're trying to alleviate traffic. We will have multiple signs around the town, like more than 30 signs around the town saying that no roadside parking, because the sides of the roads are going to be really soft at that point. So we will have, hopefully the signage will deter some.
Good luck.
Yeah, and then we'll have
The signs will be in the mud.
Yeah.
the signs will be in the mud. Yeah.
Might be able to use them to pry their car.
Right. They're going to use it as like the sand to get their
That'll be
car out of the mud. That'll be great. We're going to have a couple DPW employees driving around enforcing any of those rules when they see people parking on the side of the road, say, you know, move on down the road to a parking lot of some capacity. And then real quick, just a kind of reason of why this is a really important event for the town. The last total solar eclipse that passed through the state of Vermont was in 1932. That was 92 years ago.
Mhm.
The next total solar eclipse that will pass through just the state of Vermont will be in 2106, which is 82 years from now. So it truly is a once in a lifetime opportunity to live in a town that is getting the total solar eclipse. And there are people that really enjoy solar eclipses, and they're going to come and they're going to be in our town. So we're trying to open them with open arms, but also ensure the safety of our residents, our properties, and hopefully get business to our businesses.
How many roads are you gonna put those signs on?
A lot.
That's gonna be a problem.
It's going to be a problem. Yeah. We have, the fire department is using their side-by-side to go around. The sheriff's department is going to be using a side-by-side to go around. We'll have a side-by-side, but it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop
So
them.
do you think that's, I'm just asking, not I'm just trying to figure it out in my head. Do you think it's prudent to go harass all these people about where they're stopping their cars on a public road?
I think if it comes into into an emergency situation where a car is blocking a road or blocking a driveway, we have the
I understand.
liability
They're
there.
just pulled
saying-
over on the shoulder of the road, you go tell them to move, and then the 10 cars in front of them, or 30. You're
Right.
like through the solar eclipse, you're just gonna be harassing people. Excuse me, I can't hear you.
As long as it's posted for event, then they don't have the right to park there. Has to be posted.
It's an insurance liability thing, I think, at
Uh,
one point, more than not going around and moving. We're not, I don't know that we're gonna be knocking on windows at 3:26 when the total solar eclipse is happening, but at 11 AM, if we see someone parking on a side of a road that we know is unsafe, I think it would be prudent of the town staff to go and say, you're not safe here. You can't leave your car here. Please find another place to park.
I think you're gonna have a mess, but go ahead.
At one of the planning meetings, we did talk about this very issue. And the major concern is being able to get an ambulance and a fire truck through. So that's when when our staff is driving through the streets and you do have, even though shoulder and they're trying to get those tires onto the pavement. And that presents a difficulty for a truck, fire truck in particular, to get through. We have to move them. So I think I hear what you're saying.
Oh, it's gonna be a mess.
It's gonna be. a
Telling
mess.
you what.
But the
That's-
biggest issue is to always make sure we can get the fire truck through.
If people need to use that judgment and not just go telling people to move because they're telling people to move, because
There'll have to be clear directive to staff.
20,000 cars, and you got 12 people in the DPW going, telling everyone to move their cars. That's gonna make a
I-
very unpleasant experience for everyone. And it'll be 82 years before they get to do that again. So I understand public safety, but I also understand that people need to use some common sense in how they apply that.
1932. I remember. No, but think about it. You had to get the horse and hook it to the cart. And the hopes only went so far you could park in any field with a horse and buggy. And you wouldn't go much past 20 miles for the horse give out. So I mean, it was a lot simpler than that.
For sure.
So-
Jonathan.
Go ahead, Brian.
Megan, I don't know if you know these numbers or not, just curious, how many parking places are there at, like, I'm thinking Cohen, Bay Park, I'm thinking Highgate Shopping Center, right? I'm thinking that just big places that are in the town, and then, of course, the Collins Pearly. I mean, do we know how many cars those places could actually accommodate?
Not 30,000. We have 250 spots at the Bay Park. We have about 50 at Cohen Park. Highgate is probably close to 1,000, as well as Walmart. Collins Pearly will be closed. They're closing their gate for their parking lot.
Gate.
Correct.
Wow.
So they will not be open for vehicular traffic at all.
Why are they doing that?
They don't want people to drive out onto their playing
Right,
fields.
ball fields.
Hmm.
There to get those
Okay.
ears fired up, you can pull a lot.
No, I mean, obviously, it's not one person per car, but let's say 3 or 4. I mean, I just wanted, it's a fair amount, just curious.
I think they're,
Something, if people are parking on the road and you tell them to move, I mean, you gotta hopefully tell them a place they could maybe go to. Okay.
I think there should be clear directive. If we're only telling people to move when it's a safety concern, it's not just someone on the side of Dunsmore Road, not,
Well, that's what I'm
concern.
seeing, is like, you see the buggy going down Dunsmore Road and stopping every 15 feet, say, you gotta move your car, you gotta move your car, you gotta move your car at 2 PM, and where are they gonna move them to?
Right.
Palm Shore? They gotta go somewhere. I don't know, I just, how that ordinance or whatever you created gets implemented will definitely impact
Definitely not an
people's
yours.
experience
Remember that?
with this, of course.
In Coventry there. When they just stopped right on the interstate and then they started, I can see that.
It will. It absolutely will happen. The state police will be patrolling the interstate.
Cleaning up.
But I think we're more concerned about all day parking versus stopping for the event. But again, we're gonna have to have clear directive to those staff members, whoever is doing it, from safety services of when it's appropriate to tell someone to move and when it's not.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, thanks. I thought you were volunteering. That's what I heard.
I'll be around.
They'll be out by your house.
I'll be in that Dunsmore Road area. for sure.
Just as long as I can drive my side by side up and down the roads.
Is that like a free for all for a couple?
It must be.
Well, no, that's not on record. On steroids, for sure. That's what I heard.
Yeah, and it's coming at like you said, the shoulders are still gonna be soft. The Bay Park's gonna be a muck hole,
Mhm.
no doubt. The lake's probably still gonna be at flood stage. Who knows? I mean, it's early, it's gonna be wet. It's
Very wet.
Gonna be
It's
wet.
gonna be wet.
So,
They could park in the lake.
Perfect. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
interesting.
Okay, the town manager is absent tonight, but Al, do you have anything
No,
for the town manager? We're just gonna skip that.
just to explain to the public that the town manager's dog is an emergency medical issue, and he's trying to save dog's life. So I think that's why I'm covering tonight. I would say on behalf of the town manager and also the staff to congratulate you on your wins and your new appointments. I think it's a forward-looking step for working all with you together as a team.
Try. Thank you. Okay, chair's report, I have nothing prepared for that. Other business, anybody have any other business? Okay, hearing none, we're gonna go to the schedule. The next select board meeting will be Monday, April 1st, April Fools, and Monday, April 15th at 6:30. Yeah, might fill the room, maybe.
fill this room.
Okay, and the annual volunteer dinner will be held on Monday, April 22nd at 5:30 at the American Legion.
There was no executive session tonight,
And no executive session.
unless you want one, but.
Did-
town is-
Did you want, did we want one real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to make that motion?
I'm
Hold on.
gonna bundle it, and I can do it.
Just wing it. Oh.
Okay, I make a motion to enter executive session and to discuss a contractual and personnel matter that could place the town or person involved at a substantial disadvantage, and I also cite all appropriate statutes in making that motion. And I could also move to invite the not interim, Director of Operations, Albans.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wait, okay.